TWAGAA presents the podcast on the book, Tiger in the Lion City, written by Bhupesh Gandhi.
What if I told you that the ultimate survival skill in a totally new, chaotic environment isn't staying hypervigilant, but actually, dropping your guard completely?
Right, which sounds completely counterintuitive to everything we're taught.
Exactly. I mean, think about the last time you stepped off a plane in an unfamiliar city. If you're like most of us, your shoulders tense up immediately. Your eyes are darting around, scanning for
Oh
exits.
yeah, you're gripping your luggage handle a little tighter.
Yeah, you're just bracing for friction. The confusing transit signs, the aggressive taxi touts, that unspoken battle to get your bag off the carousel before someone elbows you out of the way.
Because you're operating under the assumption that the environment is adversarial. It's a puzzle you have to solve, or an opponent you need to outmaneuver using just your own wits.
But imagine taking those razor-sharp, deeply ingrained survival instincts that have literally kept you safe your whole life and dropping them into a society that absolutely does not require them.
A society that runs on an entirely different rhythm.
Right, where the friction just isn't there. And that is the mission for our deep dive today. We're exploring what happens to the human psyche when the broken systems we are so used to surviving are suddenly replaced by pure functioning structure.
And we have an incredibly rich source text to guide us through this thought experiment. We are looking at a brilliant piece of reflective fiction titled Tiger in the Lion City by Bhupesh Gandhi.
Yeah, published by TWAGAA International, which is this Mumbai-based publishing house with a really fascinating background of its own.
They are quite unique, actually. So TWAGAA is an acronym for Together We Are Great, Amazing, and Awesome.
I love that name.
It's great, right?
Yeah.
But beyond the cheerful name, their underlying ethos is deeply relevant to our topic today. They focus on collaborative storytelling. They build anthologies to help writers become what they call civilization builders.
Civilization builders, that's a strong phrase.
It really is.
Yeah.
They view writing not just as entertainment, but as drafting the cultural blueprints for how diverse voices can navigate shared journeys. They even actively invite submissions from the public at hello@twagaday.com to keep building these cultural bridges.
And that concept of being a civilization builder perfectly frames the core allegory that Gandhi uses in the book. So, to set the stage for you, the listener, the author uses two distinct archetypes. First, we have the tiger.
Right, represented by the book's protagonist, Anand.
Exactly. And the tiger is solitary. He is driven by gut instinct, he thrives on rapid improvisation, and he's totally used to navigating unpredictable, highly competitive environments where you act first and explain your actions later.
Whereas in stark contrast, you have the lion. The lion represents the locals in Singapore, which is famously known as the Lion City.
Yeah.
The lion mindset is inherently group-oriented. It's rule-driven. It relies heavily on shared systems, structural alignment, and the fundamental belief that you plan, discuss, and coordinate long before you make a physical move.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the collision of these two operating systems isn't a slow burn at all, it is instantly, painfully visible the second Anand arrives.
Oh, absolutely.
We have to look at the very first moment he steps into the lion's territory, which is Changi Airport, Terminal 3. So Anand walks toward immigration expecting to play his usual game. In his mind, an airport is a chaotic game of musical chairs.
Right. He's actively hunting for the fastest queue.
Yeah, he's mentally rehearsing how to charm the immigration officer. He's ready to hustle. He walks in carrying this immense mental weight of anticipating failure.
But instead of a chaotic game of musical chairs, he encounters something that resembles a beautifully calibrated factory conveyor belt.
It's so jarring for him. The culture shock is purely visual at first. He finds cues that aren't just sort of straight, they're geometrically precise. People's suitcases are spaced exactly 1 unit apart.
Like they were measured with a ruler.
Literally. And then he gets to the baggage carousel. Now, in a tiger environment, the carousel is a rugby scrum.
Oh, totally. A free-for-all.
But here, the locals don't crowd the metal belt. They naturally form this polite, unwritten crescent moon shape a few feet back. Nobody is aggressively guarding their physical space.
And crucially, nobody is bracing for competition.
I mean, I have to pause here because my own tiger instincts are flaring up just reading about it. Like, if I drop my guard at a baggage carousel in my home city, my laptop bag is walking out the sliding doors with a complete stranger.
Right. It's not paranoia if they're actually out to get your bag.
Exactly. It's not just a pessimistic mindset. It's a statistical reality. So how does Anand just flip a switch and turn off a lifetime of justified paranoia. I mean, doesn't lowering your guard in a massive public transit hub go against basic survival mechanics?
Well, what's fascinating here is the distinction between interpersonal trust and procedural trust.
Hmm.
You see, the tiger has learned to rely almost exclusively on interpersonal trust,
Meaning he only trusts people he knows.
basically. He trusts his own alertness and maybe his immediate family because the systems around him have historically failed. When you live in an environment where the luggage belt breaks down regularly or security is just lax, hypervigilance is a rational, highly adaptive survival strategy.
So you play defense because the referee is asleep.
That is a perfect way to put it. But the lion trusts the procedure. The system in the Lion City is designed to be so reliable, with such high consequences for failure, that it effectively self-corrects.
Okay, I see.
There's a beautifully illustrative moment in this scene. So Anand's bag finally drops onto the carousel, his deeply ingrained tiger instinct fires, and he physically lunges forward to claim his territory before anyone else can cut him off.
Right, he's going in for the tackle.
Yeah, but as he lunges, a local pushing a luggage trolley is moving into that exact same physical space.
And in the environment Anand is used to, that's a collision. At best, it's a tense standoff, and at worst, it's a screaming match.
Right. But instead, the local simply stops his trolley, makes eye contact, smiles, and politely yields the space. No tension, no territorial posturing at all.
Wow.
And that is the exact moment the psychological shift begins for Anand. He realizes he doesn't need to compete for the resource. He just has to trust the distribution of that resource.
Okay, I buy that procedural trust works in an airport. I mean, airports are essentially sterile, highly controlled, heavily surveilled fortresses, right?
Yeah.
It's easy to play by the rules when there are cameras everywhere.
Sure.
But a society isn't an airport. How does this structural trust hold up out in the wild, in the messy, sweaty reality of a dense urban environment?
That is the ultimate stress test. And the book takes us straight into the heart of that test, the local hawker center.
Oh man, for anyone listening who hasn't experienced a major hawker center, the sensory overload is unbelievable. It is loud, it is hot, there are massive woks firing up huge flames, crowds of hundreds of people weaving through tight tables, orders being shouted in 4 different languages.
It's intense.
To Anand, it looks like his natural tiger habitat, just pure, unfiltered chaos. But then he looks closer, and he realizes he's actually looking at a massive invisible grid.
It's the architecture of everyday life hiding in plain sight.
It's disorder carefully organized. Every single food stall, no matter how popular, has its own dedicated queue. And these lines curve organically around the dining tables without a single rope, stanchion, or security guard enforcing them.
Just social agreement.
Yes, but the mechanism that completely short-circuits Anand's brain is how they reserve empty tables.
Oh, the practice of choping.
Yes. Choping. You have thousands of hungry people aggressively looking for seating in this bustling food court. And to reserve an empty table, a person will simply place a tiny, disposable 20-cent packet of tissues right in the middle of it.
And then they just walk away.
They turn their back on it completely to go order food, and nobody sits there. That flimsy tissue packet carries the legal authority of a notarized contract.
It's amazing. It's basically a masterclass in game theory and localized social contracts. It works because the system isn't maintained by authority figures. It's maintained by thousands of watchful eyes that all mutually benefit from the rule.
Right.
It's simply cheaper for everyone to honor the tissue packet than to engage in constant territorial disputes over chairs.
But the trust extends way beyond 20-cent tissue packets. I mean, Anand experiences a much higher stakes version of this when he leaves his expensive wireless earpod on a public bus.
Right, the earpod scene.
Yeah, because in his previous life, leaving high-end electronics on public transit means you just accept the 5 stages of grief and pull out your credit card to buy a new one. The item is gone.
Oh, totally gone.
But he calls the transit lost and found, almost as a cynical joke. And a few days later, they call him back. They have it. It's been packaged in a transparent bag, labeled, cataloged, and it's just waiting for him.
And when Anand expresses his absolute displeasure to his local colleague, a quintessential lion named Wei Jianwei, Janet's reaction is incredibly revealing.
How so?
He is completely unfazed by the return of the earpod. He explains to Anand that their social systems do not prepare for worst-case behavior. They prepare for average behavior.
You know, I've really been wrestling with that specific phrase. Designing a society around average behavior sounds wildly optimistic. I mean, if you assume people are generally good or generally compliant, Aren't you leaving the back door wide open for bad actors to completely exploit the system?
Well, this raises an important question about the hidden costs of how we design our environments. Assuming the worst-case scenario, which is the tiger way, requires massive overhead.
Like what?
Well, if you assume everyone is a thief, your system becomes defensive, heavy, and full of friction. You need physical security guards, complex verification processes, padlocks on literally everything.
Right, that makes sense.
But designing for the average, assuming that the vast majority of people will not steal an ear pod, that they will respect a tissue packet, makes systems incredibly streamlined.
It removes the friction. It takes drastically less energy to exist in that space.
Exactly. And why doesn't the system collapse from those few bad actors? Because participation is reinforced by alignment, not punishment. When you see everyone around you returning their dining trays, the social pressure to align with the average behavior is far stronger than the impulse to defect. The culture actively replicates itself.
Okay, so that makes sense for lunch, and it makes sense for a lost ear pod. The stakes are relatively low there, but we have to push the limits of this allegory. It's easy to be a civilized lion when the sun is shining. What happens to that incredibly organized, trusting structure when the society is hit with a massive existential shock?
Right, the real test. And Gandhi explores this perfectly by thrusting the narrative into a public health crisis, a full-scale pandemic scenario.
Yeah, and this is where the sheer terrifying speed of the lion system becomes apparent. A crisis hits, and new rules manifest overnight.
Literally the next day.
Yeah, laminated posters appear in the elevators declaring 2 people maximum.
Yeah.
Footprint stickers are suddenly on the floor of every shop to enforce distancing, and the lions, they just immediately adjust.
No pushback at all.
Zero. There are no town halls, no debates about the stickers, no bargaining with the grocery store clerks. They see the structural rule, and they conform their physical behavior to it by the next morning.
And then comes the technological intervention. The government-issued contact tracing app. This scene provides a brilliant psychological contrast.
Oh, I love this part.
Right. When the mandate comes down to download this tracking software, Anand, our tiger, instantly shifts into threat assessment. He evaluates the app purely for its surveillance risk. He's looking for the hidden agenda, thinking, where is this data going? Who is really tracking me?
Because his historical instinct tells him that authority is often arbitrary, slow, or outright dangerous. For the tiger, maintaining privacy is a form of physical protection.
Exactly. But Wei Jian, the lion, downloads the app without a second thought. And why? Because Wei Jian evaluates the app strictly on its utility. The stated function is to map and stop an infection.
Right.
The tool solves the societal problem, therefore he uses the tool. He doesn't suspect the fire extinguisher of having an ulterior motive.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Think about how information flows during a shock like that. If we think about information like city traffic, in a tiger environment, when a crisis hits, information is like a rumor spreading horizontally on WhatsApp.
Oh, the family group chat?
Exactly. It's like thousands of people driving their own cars, stuck in a gridlock, just honking at each other in a panic. You trust your community group chat to warn you about danger because the official channels are either silent or lying.
And how does that contrast with the lion environment?
Well, in a lion environment, information functions like public transit. People don't jump into their own panicked cars. They wait at the station for the vertical institution, the massive, reliable train, to arrive and verify the route.
That's a great analogy.
The book illustrates this beautifully. A rumor of a total immediate lockdown hits the messaging apps. Now, in a tiger city, the grocery stores would be stripped bare in 45 minutes. Absolute Lord of the Flies chaos. But here, the lions don't panic buy, they just hold their positions.
They wait?
Yeah, and a few hours later, the official government statement comes out, debunks the rumor, and everyone goes calmly back to their day.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it highlights a fundamental difference in trust architecture. The tiger relies on the grassroots community as an early warning system because central authority hasn't earned their trust. The lion relies on the institution because that institution has a track record of reliable delivery.
It actually works.
Right. And the lions don't magically eliminate uncertainty from the universe. Plagues still happen. Economic crashes still happen. But they actively organize their response to that uncertainty rather than letting the uncertainty dictate their response.
They organize their response to uncertainty. That is the mechanism. But if the lion system is so perfectly calibrated, so calm, so hyper-functional, does the tiger just get completely absorbed? Does Anand lose his stripes entirely and become just another cog on the conveyor belt?
Well, he certainly begins to assimilate. The book describes the subtle psychology of Anand getting, quote, lionized. And it's not through force, it's through the sheer relief of not having to fight anymore.
It's the little things. He catches himself waiting at red pedestrian lights when the street is completely empty at 2 a.m.
Right.
There isn't a car for miles, but he just stands there, perfectly still, waiting for the green walking man. He starts automatically returning his food trays. He joins the back of long supermarket queues instead of trying to strategically game the system to find the fastest lane. You can really see the tiger's claws getting filed down.
But the author is very deliberate in showing that the tiger shouldn't be erased. The lion system is highly optimized, but it isn't flawless. We actually see its vulnerability during a massive, unexpected crisis at Anand's workplace.
Ah, the regulatory deadline. So the company suddenly gets word from the authorities that a major compliance deadline has been drastically slashed. What was supposed to take 3 months now has to be delivered in 3 weeks.
A huge shock to the system.
Yeah, and when this bomb drops, the lions do what lions do best. They sit in a boardroom in complete silence, meticulously planning linear sequential analyses. They want the legal department to review it for a week, then pass it to operations to model for a week, step by step.
But a 3-week window isn't a planning horizon, it's a reaction window. The lion system relies entirely on sequence and having all the variables known before making a move.
Right, they need the full picture.
Exactly. So, faced with a severe lack of time and incomplete information, the structural system begins to freeze up. They're basically trying to draft a bureaucratic response to a fire that is already burning the building down.
And this is the moment the tiger finally pounces, and then realizes the conveyor belt is jammed. He jumps in, completely shatters their sequential planning, and breaks the project into chaotic parallel tasks.
He brings the chaos back.
He does. He pushes the team to act on raw instinct, to start executing before every single variable is fully verified. He essentially drags the chaos of the musical chairs into the pristine factory, and it is literally the only thing that saved them from missing the deadline.
And Wei Jin, the ultimate lion, recognizes the value of this immediately. He actually tells Anand, structure works best when instinct occasionally interrupts it.
So what does this all mean? For you, listening right now, navigating your own complex environments, whether that's a new corporate culture, a new city, or a shifting industry, it feels like true resilience isn't about firmly choosing to be exclusively a tiger or exclusively a lion.
No, it's about calibration. It's understanding the cognitive tax of both systems. I mean, the purely tiger society possesses incredible kinetic energy. It is resourceful, it pivots quickly, and it can survive massive unscripted disruptions.
But it's exhausting.
It's extremely. It struggles to build anything generational because everyone is constantly exhausted from playing defense. Now, a purely lion society is highly stable and predictable, which allows for deep, long-term planning. But it can become dangerously rigid when sudden adaptation is required.
Yeah.
The magic, as Anand discovers, mission to build civilizations, happens in the conscious calibration between the two.
It's about knowing which operating system to boot up in which environment. Adapting to a new culture doesn't require you to abandon the instincts that kept you alive. It just requires the wisdom to know when it is safe to rely on the structure and when you absolutely need to act independently.
Exactly.
You don't have to lose your stripes. You just have to learn how to walk with the lions.
You preserve your instinct for the moments when the structure inevitably fails.
Which brings us back to that initial feeling of stepping off the plane, gripping your luggage, bracing for impact. We are so often conditioned to view societal rules, waiting in queues, and structural alignment as heavy burdens that restrict our personal autonomy. Like, we chafe at them.
Oh, all the time.
But I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder long after this deep dive ends. We usually define freedom as the ability to break the rules, to act on pure impulse whenever we want. But what if true freedom isn't that at all? What if the ultimate form of freedom is actually the immense mental bandwidth and creative energy you get back when you no longer have to spend every waking moment surviving a broken system?
Yeah, when you don't have to spend your energy fighting for a spot at the luggage carousel, you actually have the energy left over to become a civilization builder.
I couldn't agree more. Until next time, keep your instincts sharp, but allow yourself the bandwidth to enjoy the ride when the system actually works.
Hope you enjoyed the podcast and would be keen to read the book Tiger in the Lion City by Bhupesh Gandhi. You may order a copy of the book directly from the publisher's site, TWAGAA.com, or from Amazon.com. Thank you for listening.